Sooner or later, a reality show will show the whole world who you really are. You can't hide it but for so long. Let's get into it. What up, y'all? I'm Christopher Markland, and welcome to my review/analysis of the final episode of season 4 of Ready to Love. As I do in all of my reviews, I don't just regurgitate what we've already seen on the show, but instead I use everything on the show as examples of dating and relationships. So if you like how I do it, please be sure to like and subscribe and share this. Tell a friend, let them know what I'm doing over here.
This is not what I came here for. People took time out of their life to do this. And y'all sitting here arguing about what happened. It's crazy.
I don't quite understand what Tassia is upset about. Now, I don't watch a lot of reality shows, but the ones that I do watch, they all follow the same format, meaning they go through the season, and then at the end of the season, they have a reunion special, maybe one part or maybe a 2-part special. So I'm not quite following why she is as upset as she is that the audience member, that the cast, I should say, is talking about the things that happen throughout the show. It's like that's what reality shows do, and she signed up to be on the show. Now, she didn't necessarily have to be there at that reunion special. I don't know if there's a contractual obligation. That obviously I can't speak to that. However, I do know that Shiloh isn't there. So, and I think that the production team would understand her not being there if her mother was in the hospital, especially during COVID. Think about it. Tommy isn't even there. So I don't understand why she is as upset as she is.
To highlight our connection because we did make one.
You and I.
Yes, please, thank you.
No, I think that's beautiful. He's got your back, obviously.
Absolutely.
He's been defending you.
And that's why I chose him.
Oh, pussy. Can I stand him?
As I've gotten older, I have really come to appreciate nice people. We live in a world that's getting uglier by the day, and as such, nice people, they stand out in all of that ugliness. Now, on this show, we've seen some beautiful women, some handsome men, but it doesn't matter how much makeup you may put on. It doesn't matter how full your beard may be. It doesn't matter how plump that donkey is. It doesn't matter how six your pack is. It doesn't matter if you are not a nice person, if you are not a good person, if you are not a genuine person. No matter all of the things that you may put on to cover up who you really are, sooner or later, that the real you is going to come to the surface and people are going to see you for the person that you really are.
So you guys have been continuing with the relationship? Okay.
I mean, I left because she left, so
Right.
that goes together.
You were voted off, actually, if you want to be honest.
Let's be clear. He didn't leave because she left. She was voted off the show. In other words, all of the remaining men did not see any kind of didn't want to make any kind of connection with Zadia. They were not interested. And because of that, Naeem he read the writing on the wall and saw that, there isn't anybody here that would want to pursue something with me. Because if I recall, he was also on the chopping block a week or two prior to that. So he saw what was going on. I get it. He had a connection with Zadia. Zadia was gone, so of course he left. But again, he didn't do this out of some act of chivalry. He basically realized that he didn't really have any other options, any other connections.
Hey, look, I'm a single woman. I'm a black woman. At the end of the day, I just want y'all to come to a resolution, see each other, Zadia, see each other, understand where there's been gaps in the communication, and squash it.
It's squashed for me.
This just has no place, really, truly.
I really appreciate what Tanika Ray's trying to do right there, because obviously one side of the people on one side of the stage do not have any love for the people on the other, and vice versa. Now, why that is, we kind of have an idea as to why those people don't like the other. However, it doesn't matter why, it just is what it is. I appreciate her for trying to at least bring in some semblance of unity, trying to keep the show moving, trying to keep things moving along without it getting too far out of hand. She really has been a good host of this reunion special. I like how she does it.
You got your Nye.
Oh, I sure did.
She's got Cornelius and
Absolutely.
you got Dante. Congratulations.
I love that dismissive congratulations. It's like she's saying, yeah, you can have him because the rest of these ladies damn sure don't want him. Anyway, In that, I have learned that insecure people always want to have the last word. They always got to say something. There's a certain confidence that comes with being silent and letting you or your product or your service, whatever the case may be, speak for itself. This has helped me tremendously in my professional career, as a salesperson, because once I really understood and grasped the concept of the cheaper the product, the louder the commercial, it changed everything with me, not just professionally, but also in relationships as well. You ain't always got to have the last word. Just be quiet, let things be. It'll work out in the end.
Y'all funny.
He basically was like, not now. So I was kind of a little taken aback by that.
She was rubbing him on the back of the neck and stuff like that. But whatever connections that Walter has with another woman is irrelevant to the journey that me and him have.
I can't,
See.
I spoke about this scene in my review of that particular episode. And again, Cornelius is always in the mix of messiness. Whenever there's some shit going down, that man is always in the mix of those messy women. That's one. Also, and that's kind of backed up by what Walter said, y'all funny, meaning the group of y'all are funny, because he knows what happened. He and Sabrina were in there doing their own thing on the piano, having their moment. And this group of messy people walked in and brought drama with them. Also, but if you heard what Sabrina said, she was confident in that, okay, it don't matter what kind of connections Walter's making with people other than her, because she was confident in what she was establishing with him and what they had together. There's a lot of insecure people on this show, this particular season. However, when you are confident in who you are, it doesn't matter what kind of nonsense or drama or bullshit they bring to your door. You ain't got to let it in. It's like, all right, you just politely step over it, step around it, and go on about your business. And that's exactly what Walter and Sabrina did in that moment.
Need to communicate. Because it was that little bit of time when I was like, he don't call me, he ain't texting me. Like, what's going on?
I was giving you your space to figure out what you didn't want.
We're dwindling down to like the end now, and the chemistry is there. But I don't really hear from Walter.
I'm always reinforcing what I believe to be are the 3 keys to a successful relationship: sex, communication, finances. Now, of all of those 3, communication is so important because, hell, communication leads to sex. I mean, it's foreplay. If you're not able to properly communicate with your partner, then you're gonna have problems. And that's one of the red flags that Sabrina saw when it came to Walter, was the lack of communication, the lack of him reaching out and trying to talk to her, the lack of, okay, when they see each other, everything's good, but there was no real communication. So because of that red flag that she saw, she put the brakes on things instead of pursuing it and moving further and making a bad situation worse.
You have always been my number 1, but you've always made me feel like number 2. Yeah, at this point, I think that our journey should end here.
It would have been so easy for her to just do it for the gram, right? She could have just said yes in that moment, and then they would have walked away into the sunset, and the show would have had this happy ending. Sabrina and Walter, we saw them from the first episode, and here they are coming together. How many times have we seen that happen? We saw it last season with You Heard Me and I forget old girl's name, but and also we see it this season when it comes to Frank and Mumin. Frank knows, I'm almost positive that Frank knew he didn't want to pursue something beyond the taping of the show when things ended, but instead he moved forward, gave this great speech, and now look at him. Mumin is now, her life is disrupted because what she thought was something now isn't the case. Sometimes it takes a lot of strength to be able to say thanks, but no thanks when it comes to love. I know, when you're yearning for that special person, when you want to have that special person and you think you have it, you can overlook what you know are problematic things about that person. I really appreciate the strength that Sabrina showed him, but was like, hey, you know what? I like you, you're cool. However, what you're providing me isn't necessarily what I want or need.
We weren't. You're saying I should have called and told you I wasn't going to choose you, but if you really were trying to pursue me, I wouldn't have had to call and tell you. You would have been calling me and texting me, hey, boo, what you doing? How was your day today? I wasn't hearing from you.
Sabrina hit the nail on the head. He wasn't reaching out or communicating with her. So it's one of those things that, you know, if they had been, if he was really interested in building something with her, in trying to establish that serious relationship with her, then he would have been communicating with her daily, even if it's something as simple as, you know, checking in, a phone call, a text, whatever the case may be. It wouldn't have been a situation where she has to reach out to him to let him know how she's feeling. And also, she did let him know how she was feeling way back when she was like, yo, I haven't heard from you. What's going on? You don't call me. When we meet up, it sounds good. And 9 times out of 10, when they met up, it was for the cameras. But once the cameras went away, it seemed like he went away. So it's not like she didn't communicate with him what her issues were. It just sounds like he wasn't listening, or he just wasn't able to provide what it is that she needed.
So is there any hope?
I'm not gonna say nothing's there because we still have our connection. Like, even though we didn't talk to each other at all from that day on the bridge, when we saw each other, it was like, there you go. You know what I mean?
He just said it himself. I get it. We don't know when the decision episode where they were on the bridge was taped. We don't know when that was taped and how long it was up until this particular reunion episode was taped, okay? We don't know whether it was a day, whether it was a week, whether it was a month. We really don't know. However, it doesn't matter what it is. You haven't reached out to her, which was Sabrina's issue in the first place. He wasn't reaching out to her outside of when he saw her. So if you, I get it. She essentially dumped you publicly, all right? Cool, that hurts. However, if you were really into her, really feeling her, really connected with her, and that happened during taping, you're not gonna pick up the phone and be like, yo man, what happened? What's going on? You know, you're not gonna talk to her from that moment all the way up until you see her again. That doesn't make sense, and that is the core of why she said no to you in the first place, or to him in the first place.
I think it's beautiful that him and Camille worked it out and they have that mutual understanding. Then I'm here for it, you know?
I'm here for it. Courtney, I've loved watching you. You empowered, you finding the man that you want and going after it, and I wish you the best, okay? Chase that man and then let him woo you a little bit with some flowers and cards.
I got you.
I've always liked Courtney's energy from jump. I really think that whole situation between her and Cornelius was actually a little bit, I just don't like how it played out, because honestly, again, on one hand, Cornelius is saying, yeah, it's fine. You can touch my leg. Yeah, it's fine. You can be affectionate, all that good stuff. But then he gets behind, oh, I just don't like her. She's all, man, fuck out of here. Anyway, one thing I will say is that, and you know, Tanika Ray kind of touched on it as well. It's okay for you to a certain extent to be aggressive, because if you're interested in a man, dating is a competitive sport. You have to let it be known. You know, there's certain ways that you can get a man's attention, but once you have his attention, then you have to know how to fall back and then let that man pursue you. Let that man come after you. Men hunt, and if no hunter wants the prey to just come and just drop at their feet, there's no fun in that. There's no sport in that. So dating, like I said, it's a competitive sport. So you have to let that man know that, hey, I'm interested, I'm here, come holler at me. How he pursues you, or the lack of pursuit. Let's talk about, you know, kind of going back to Sabrina and Walter. You know, okay, Sabrina's here, but he wasn't pursuing her. He wasn't communicating. He wasn't calling. He wasn't doing whatever, reaching out to her. So, you know, the same rules apply. Yes, be aggressive. Go after the, you know, not necessarily go after the dude, but just let him know that you are here, you're ready to be pursued. And then you make sure that he pursues you in a way that makes you feel, in a way that you want. He's not too aggressive, he ain't coming at you sideways, that kind of thing.
Because the joy that I get. Oh.
You good. Take your time.
All right. I want that same look from a woman that my mom gives my dad. That's why I go all out to try to make a woman feel special.
Corey is a misguided romantic. And I use the word misguided because it seems like he thinks that the words and the gestures are what it takes to have a happy, healthy relationship. It takes a hell of a lot more than that. You cannot have a cake that's made solely of icing. too much of a good thing is not a good thing, because think about it, using that cake analogy. If you have a cake, no icing, there's no substance to it. And if all you're doing is eating that sweet icing, after a while, it's going to make you sick. You got to have something of substance. You got to have something that goes beyond the sweet, that goes beyond the gestures. And Corey, he's lacking in substance, and that's why he ended up being kicked off the show, because the women saw through all of that sweetness and realized that there really wasn't anything there.
A lot of women that I have dated have literally said, no, you like me too much, you're trying too hard, you're doing too much. So these little gestures that I may do, they would discard me. So I've learned, hey, I'm not broken, there's nothing wrong with me, something wrong with them. I'm gonna do this. Eventually, I will meet this one woman that will accept.
As a fellow hopeless romantic, I get it. I feel all of that. I love. And I used to put together like date night ideas, as well as I'm working on even building a business around that, something similar to Hitch. Now, I've always said that the problem, though, let me say this. The problem is that the fantasy of romance is not the same as the reality of a relationship. And once you get past the dating phase, that's when you got to put in that work. And both of y'all have to want to put in that work. Not just you, not just them. Both y'all have to want to work on not just the relationship with y'all together, but y'all individually and, you know, apart from each other. And that's why I've always said therapy. You got to have therapy. You got to work on yourself. You have to fix all of those demons, or at least work on those demons. Be aware of those demons from your past, so that way you can work on being the best version of you in the present and moving forward with that person. If you don't do that, what happens is, if one person goes and gets the therapy, if that one person works on themselves, works on being the better version of themselves, and the other person doesn't, you have a relationship that's now unbalanced and it's now dysfunctional, because one person sees, like, it's almost like the veil is lifted and you see where you are, you see that person for who they are, and you're not able to move forward with that person. Or because you're now in a different place, a better place, you're moving ahead and you're leaving that person behind. And, you know, anytime someone gets left behind, that trauma now is like, okay, now there's separation anxiety. All of those things come into play. You have to heal yourself. You have to work on yourself. They have to work on themselves. Both of y'all want to be better persons, not just for them, but also for yourself, if you want to have a happy, healthy relationship.
So that moment with Mumin was
Yes.
real. It was like, you love it.
I know it's a lot for me to pull out a knife on a date and carve our initials into a tree. I know it's a lot. But I'm thinking big pictures, like, what if you are the one? What if you are the one? It's real.
It sounds good, and I feel him to a point. Where we diverge is his use of the word what if. You can't have a what if approach when it comes to dating, you know, because then what you're doing is you're just sending out a whole bunch of gestures, be it carving names, initials in a tree, or leaving cards around the pool, or any of those things. You cannot have a scattershot, shotgun type approach to dating, because love is too beautiful to bludgeon. In other words, if you are going after a particular target, you can't just scatter it with buckshot, because you're going to destroy it. Instead, you're going to have to approach it and hunt it, go looking down the barrel, sighting down that barrel and taking that shot, going after that one person. You know, you may date multiple people, but if you're interested in pursuing something with that one person, you have to focus on that one person. Then after you take your shot, you got to sight down the barrel again and shoot another shot. And then you keep doing that and building with that person, communicating with that person until something develops. You can't just be shooting all over the world and all of a sudden be like, oh, I'm in love. It don't work that way.
I'll ask Corey, am I a third party?
Matter of fact.
Yes or no?
Hold on,
yes or no, Corey?
Hold on. I want to clear something.
Corey, no, because we're trying to clear things
I
up.
know,
Am I a third party? Can you just say yes or no?
No, let me clear this up. I said my dark horse was Tasia.
What does that mean?
But
it's a great question. What does that mean? It's a simple yes or no question that requires a simple yes or no answer. I've always had that problem with Corey, in that he thinks he can talk himself out of these bad situations that he has actually talked himself into. Was Tasia one of his main connections? Yes or no? It's a simple question, and I really got a problem with people, especially men, when they're asked a direct question, they cannot, or in his case, will not give a direct answer.
Let me break this down for
Please,
you.
Tasia.
Seriously.
Corey, we got your story, but I'd love to hear
Yes,
Tasia's.
Corey was requesting dates with me, and these same text messages about meeting parents, family members, all of that, I was getting the same exact messages. So call the thing what it is, Corey.
She took time out of her life, and here y'all are going. Anyway, it's amazing to me that when it's her turn to talk, when she has the floor, and for her to discuss her drama and the BS situation that she found herself in is cool. However, when the other people on the show whose lives, obviously they had things going on in their life, but they're there, when they have the floor, when it's their turn to talk, she throws a tantrum and walks off. My issue with what she did was, at the time that she did it, there was some momentum that was going on with the whole Camille, Zadia, Aisha situation, with the whole thing. And there were actually, it seemed to be moving towards either some kind of understanding, a resolution, something. But instead, Tasia disrupted that entire flow when she threw that tantrum and stomped off the stage. And now all the attention, instead of being focused on the issue that was at hand, it was now instead diverted to her because she had a tantrum.
She asked me to clarify. This is my moment, actually, Corey. Ooh. Corey has told me over and over and over, you are my number one, so let's stop that.
Not gonna lie, I really don't know what the issue is right here. I get it. Cut and paste Corey, he's full of shit. Fine, we've established that. However, up to that point, I hadn't really heard Corey say anything about Tasia, negative or positive. So I'm trying to understand what the issue is. Now, if the issue is that, he didn't say anything about their connection, well, I'm not sure if you're going to put that on Corey, but instead I think you should put that on production. Because if they didn't showcase that Tasia and Corey had a connection, but instead focused on the connections, or focus on Corey and I think it was Mumin and Corey and Courtney, and didn't focus on Tasia, then that's on the production team, not Corey. I'm trying to understand what the issue is. If y'all know what it is, if I'm missing something, y'all let me know in the comments.
I've been quiet for most of this reunion, but you ain't ever had to come to Tasia's defense, because every brother at every deliberation was always like, Tasia cool as hell. Tasia's one of the coolest.
That's right. Take your
every time.
I love it.
Take your walk.
Every
yes.
for real.
Again, am I missing something? I'm not sure what's happening here. It seems to be a little bit of revisionist history, because the didn't like Tasia. In fact, she was at the bottom for episode 2 and again for episode 4, and she was ultimately sent home at the end of episode 8. The only thing that kept her on the show, or two things actually that kept her on the show for as long as she did, was that they were alternating between who would go home from one week to the next, and then there were more quote unquote problematic women that were sent home ahead of her. But it wasn't a situation of the men were like, oh man, Tasia, we really want you to stay. No, there weren't any connections, and the men who actually went out on dates with her said as much.
I personally heard dudes say that she's a little tough to talk
Phil,
to.
is that true?
The only reason why I'm calling you out on this is because I defended you to her. And you're playing it right now.
I'm not playing. We talking about.
So what are you saying?
You're
it's
not
true?
saying that, man. Like, come on, man.
How am I playing? I just hold on.
Corey.
However you may feel about Corey, in this moment, the dude's not wrong. The men, there were no real connections or any type of affinity towards Tasia and how she was acting. In fact, I think that at one of one of the ones where she was about to be sent home, or two women were up for elimination, one of the dudes was like, yo, the guys can't talk to you. They feel like when they do talk to you, there's a wall. Then if you go back, there's another on the situation where Frank took her on that date. She met up with Frank at his club or his bar or whatever, and he did that. Anyway, in that moment, even after that, Frank was like, "Yo, all she talks about is her business. I really didn't get to know her. I didn't connect with her." It's in all of the interactions where the men either took her on dates, be it double dates, be it, meeting friends, whatever. None of them walked away from that with a good feel, with a good, man, to see her, she's the one. None of them did that in that moment. So again, this seems to be revisionist history where they're like, to see you, just the greatest thing ever. They damn sure weren't saying it then. So it's just kind of weird to me to hear them say it now.
Anybody on the cast that you're vaxxed and waxed for?
No, you can't spin a block on me. I always say there's no doubling back on me. You can ask anybody ever that they never got a second chance. So that's just how I am, but I love all of them.
Man, I appreciate that about Tasia, because y'all know I am not a fan of backtracking. Once it's over, once the relationship, the friendship, the whatever ship has sailed, then you move on. You don't let that thing turn around and come back to port and then you jump your ass on it, because what's going to happen is it's going to sink. There's a reason why that relationship, that friendship ended. I think maybe one of the only reasons maybe is if a person moves away. However, what does tend to happen in pretty much all circumstances when people drift apart, when they grow, when they mature, whatever the case may be, they end up being different people at different points in a different point in their life. You are also growing, you are also maturing, and you're at a different point in your life. If you try to bring those two things together, 9 times out of 10, they will not mesh, and you're going to remember the reason why you left them in the first place, or they're going to remember the reason why they left you. It's cool. You can rekindle. We all be on some kind of social media, and it's like, oh, snap, this person. You can follow them or whatever, but that doesn't mean that you need to get into a relationship with them. When it's over, it's over. Do not backtrack.
I don't always choose wisely in the dating game. That's why I'm here, right? Because I'm always thinking fun. And I was able to do a skirt and realize that future Zadia really needs someone that's going to be there. And, I can always bring the fun out of them. And Nye actually is very fun. He just, during the process, he was...
Boy, she sure said a whole bunch of nothing right there. I don't know who she was trying to fool or who she was trying to convince, whether it was us or the people on that stage, but all of us heard what she said, in that she told Dante, I was going to choose you. Now, Naeem heard that, so it's a couple things that would be going through my head as a dude if I heard the lady that I'm sitting there all matched up colors with, that, yo, okay, what you mean you're going to choose that dude, but now all of a sudden you're talking about you chose me. Now, maybe she was trying to, tell Dante that, yeah, man, I was going to choose you to make him feel some kind of way. But if that was the case, I think a better approach would be like, you know what, hey, it's cool. I ain't want to choose you anyway because, I'm rocking with Naeem. None of that was said. So again, all that talking that she's doing, but I don't know who she's trying to convince that she really and truly wanted to be with Naeem, because that's not what the tape says.
So when I hear other gentlemen telling me, red flags here, red flags in here, but ultimately I'm being my own decision in my own mind.
But you took note of the red flag, at least.
Yes, definitely have to hear people out.
Man, I have been guilty of this a few times in my life. People were trying to tell me that the person I was dating at the time, and they were just trying to point out certain things about that person and their personality, because with them, they are on the outside looking in, so they have a different perspective, and they were trying to be like, yo, Chris, hey, red flag, bro. However, like I said, y'all, I'm a hopeless romantic, and when I'm, smitten by someone, then you can't tell me nothing. That person is the greatest person ever, Now, a lot of times to my detriment, when that person showed who they were, because like I said, you can only cover up who you are but for so long before the real you comes to the surface. Right here with Naeem, he was told, all of the guys that interacted with Zadi were like, yo, stay away from that one. These are the problems. These are the red flags. Now, I don't know whether it's hubris, whether, he likes being the rebound, or just, I don't know what his motivations are. However, all of us who have seen how Zadia moves, we all know better. But for what it is, Naeem is locked in. That's who he's with.
Her vulnerability. She's like a woman that takes her heart and just puts it on the table, and you see exactly what it is. It's raw. raw energy. So that about her stood out. And then she's fun to be around.
I did not see Dante and Aisha linking up and especially making it towards the end. Definitely didn't see that coming. I will say that Aisha is one of the more genuine women on the show. You have Sabrina and you have Courtney. Them three right there to me are probably the most genuine, nicest women on the show who came on the show with a specific purpose and intention. Dante, I mean, even at the beginning, I had no issue with Dante outside of the fact that he just didn't seem to add anything to conversations in order to move the conversation. But I didn't see anything nefarious or negative about him. He just wasn't the best conversationalist in my opinion. He did seem like a good genuine dude, kind of like Phil. They're just on the show looking for love. I ain't mad at that. I do like what he said about she likes to have fun. And it's funny that when they did that, they cut to Camille, who had that same sour look on her face. Again, who you really are comes to the surface. I get it. We don't really know anything about her personally, but we can show from her personality that she is just a dour woman, just a sour, angry looking woman.
One thing I appreciate about our offline conversations, we actually talked about life. We didn't necessarily talk about the journey, the process. We just talked about what was going on in our lives, where it came from, and really got to know each other. And that is really what drew me to her.
Mm-hmm. Man, that look, shit, I think she just got pregnant in the moment. Anyway, communication is key, man. Throughout all phases of the relationship, not just in the dating phase, but you have got to be able to communicate to your partner after you get through the lovey-dovey dating phase and get into the nitty-gritty relationship. Even if not just necessarily in marriage, but just in the raw day-to-day relationship. You have got to be able to communicate with your partner. You have got to be able to not only say what you have to say honestly, but you have to receive what they are saying with the same honesty, the same intensity. I really appreciate the fact that, you know, what Dante was saying was that, they talked about things outside of the show. That is what is key in order to make any relationship work. And on the flip side, you see what happens when communication isn't there when it comes to Sabrina and Walter. They had a good connection. It was instant chemistry going all the way back to the very first mixer when they interacted with each other. They instantly clicked. However, just because you click doesn't mean that you're going to continue. And you damn sure can't continue without communication. So you got to have it. You got to be able to talk to your partner. You got to be able to listen. And then you also got to be able to speak honestly.
I got to say, this has been a season filled with a lot of drama, but we got a lot of love matches here, whether they made it to the end or not. So I think this has been a very successful season. I've had an amazing time peeling back all of the layers of this past season with you all.
This season was definitely filled with a lot of drama and also a lot of foolishness. I am happy for the couples that ended up together, even the ones that ended up together by default. I hope and I hope that things work out for them in the long run. And I really hope that they find happiness. If they end up getting married, whatever. I really am happy for those couples. This season, it was an interesting one. Like I said, there are a couple of times where I just could not bring myself to do a review because a lot of the people on this particular season as compared to others, they were not likable. Going back to what I said about just being nice people, and a lot of these people on the show just were not that. They showed the preview for the next season, which is going to be starting in only a couple weeks, which is kind of weird. And it looks like it's going to be more of the same. I'm going to go into it. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to go in there and really, with an open mind and take it in for what it is. I hope that they just chose some of the most salacious things to post in the preview, but I'm going to watch it and see how it plays out. Anyway, I want to thank y'all for rocking with me this entire season. Well, for this season, I wasn't there for all of it, but I really appreciate y'all rocking with me. I read each and every one of the comments that y'all post under each of my videos, and I try to reply to as many of them as I can. Please be sure, if you haven't already done so, follow me on my different social media. On Twitter, it's going to be at author_Chris M. During each episode, if I can, when I'm watching them live, I do live tweet during the show, do my commercial break recaps, that kind of thing. Also, you can follow me on Facebook at author Christopher Markland. Be sure to like me there. And then you can also follow me on Instagram at Christopher_Markland. Yo, I really appreciate all of y'all. Thank you again for rocking with me. And as always, y'all, stay determined.